Hi knitters, welcome to PJ Knits. This is a knitting podcast all about my knitting. My name's Penny and I live in Central Illinois, and I am a knitter, a blogger, and a YouTube podcaster. And thanks for dropping by today. It is Scrappy Sunday. No, it's not Scrappy Sunday. It's actually Thursday in August 19th, but we're going to talk Scrappy this week. So welcome. Let's just get right into it. Scraps. Those who follow me on Instagram, PJ Knits or Penny J on Ravelry, you know that I have a love of some minis right now going on, or I have had for quite some time. Just because sometimes, because they're there. What can I say? But I have accumulated a lot of minis, scrap, finger weight yarns from friends. I have specifically my friend Becky and Sue and Debbie and Brenda and Susan sent me some recently to add to the plethora of scrappy blankets that I seem to want to knit. Now, and some of them are from scraps from myself, from figure weight sweaters or cowls or whatever that I had been working on. So some of them are from me, and some of them, to be perfectly honest, I purchased. And I'm going to share just a couple of those things with you. For example, several years ago, we were at Stitches Midwest, and there was some minis sitting there, and I bought a couple of different ones. This particular set here on the left was for a mitt pattern that they had, and so I purchased those. These other ones were from, I want to say, like the Fiber Company, and there was 5 more, and this was for a cowl. But as you will see a little bit later, they really work into a blanket that I'm kind of working on. So sometimes I just buy them because they look pretty, or because I'm going to do a specific small little project. That was back in the early days. And then last year from Molly Klein, I bought her collection, It's the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown, because I'm a lover of peanuts and Snoopy specifically, so I bought those. And I think these were, I had tried really hard to figure out what to make with these. And I think I've decided to put them into, as we continue here today during this podcast, I'll show you my different blankets that I think that I'm going to divvy them up to and put them into, because I couldn't come up with what I wanted to specifically for these. So anyway, that is down the road. And then last podcast, I showed you the first set that I received from Knit Style Yarns. This is the second set. This is the first set. Okay. And then I received that same day after podcasting the second set, and you'll have to deal with the crinkle. That's just the way it is. I'm not taking them out. Okay, and this particular one, I think what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to get some hot lime greeny, I think, and I'm going to put them all together for a shawl and separate them with bright lime green. That's kind of sort of my plan. So see, what happens is sometimes I just pick them up because I like the colorways, because they spoke to me. But what happened really is many years ago at Knitting Camp, Jeanette from Sun Valley Fibers was sitting back in the back, and she was knitting on a cowl. And then come to find out afterwards, the cowl was all minis with a solid. And this is called the Leftovers Cowl by Wendy Johnson. And so then when she came to Knitting Pipeline a few years later, she brought all the minis for us to dig through. So I've had this kit waiting for some time. And so here it is. They're all her Sun Valley Fibers mini skeins, merino cashmere nylon, 40-yard skeins, of course, and it's fingering weight. And there's multiple colors in here. and they're sitting in my little bag, plus a skein, I believe this is antler, to make the cowl. And maybe this year I will get to that. And one of the things that I remember about this cowl and her telling me about it at the time is that this was a perfect cowl to practice your color work in the round and to not really have to worry about your ends or anything like that poking through, because it's all on the round and they're going to be all on the inside of it. So maybe this will be something that will make its way into my rotation of minis. If not, I have a lot of minis I can use in multiple blankets. Now, I want to say something. I want to clarify a couple of things here while we're at it. First, I have a lot of whips, and I make no excuses for them. I will not be guilted into the fact that I have them. I like casting on. And so I have several Scrappy blankets in the works and in my mind. Second of all, the Scrappies are not time sensitive. These are for me, these are purely for fun, and these are long-term projects for me. So don't expect in a couple of months for me to have this finished object, because it's just not happening. So I just want to give you all that input up front, so you don't think, oh my gosh, look how much she's got, and yada yada yada, because I will not be guilted about it. I love it, and if I die tomorrow, guys, or something happens to me, my family will just have to deal with it, and I can hear them now. And you know what? There'll be a laugh there. So anyway, where did the Scrappy obsession begin? Actual casting on. In fall of 2016, I had foot surgery, and at the time I had the start of arthritis. Did not know what it was, but now that we have discovered that it's arthritis, I was really worried about it, because when I had the foot surgery, I know I was going to have to be on crutches or a walker for some time, and I was worried about what I was going to spend the 6 to 8 weeks in a recovery. And so at the time, I was watching Legacy Fiber Arts podcast, and Sue and Chelsea had cast on a crochet version of a Scrappy blanket. And that's really where it all started for me. So I took some fingering weight yarns that I had access to, and I cast on, and I started knitting, crocheting the blanket, hoping that that would be a different feel for my hands. Turned out that I could knit a little bit and crochet a little bit, but did not crochet on it as much as I thought that I would. So I put it aside for some time, and then decided in February of 2016, was looking on some podcasts and or Instagram probably, and discovered the memory blanket, that people were taking blankets, their leftover finger weight, and putting them into a memory blanket. I cannot talk today. For some reason, I'm trying to race through this, and I don't know why. But anyway, they were doing memory blankets. And one of the blankets at the time that people were using was a free pattern, and it's still free. This particular one, it's the Memory Blanket by Georgie Nicholson. So I pulled it up, and I decided that I was going to cast on one of these. And again, I started back in February of 2016. And there's a method to how my fingering weight yarn leftovers go into all of these blankets. First of all, if they're not a Caribbean blue, a color of the sea, they go into the memory blanket first and foremost. I am doing, this particular one calls for, she has you cast on 40 stitches. I am using 44 stitches on my particular blanket. I am using a size 3, and I've talked about this one before. I am using a size 3 7-inch signature needle that I bought because I think I saw it, again, I saw it on a podcast that somebody was using a smaller version of the straight. And so this just stays in my bag all the time for my mitered square blanket. what I'm doing on this, I started in the start of this year. I started putting one square every Sunday because I found that I did it last Christmas for Advent. I put one in each. And then after that, I thought, well, I probably not, I need some motivation, I guess is what I'm saying. So what motivated me for 2021, it was that every Sunday I had to put a square in this. And I have been doing that so far. And what I am doing here, and I always start, after I finish one on a Sunday, I always start the next one. And what I have done is two things. At the beginning of the month, I am putting the beginning of the month marker in here that I received from Annetta. It says every Sunday is Scrappy Sunday. So that tells me what the very first Sunday square was. And then as I work across, when I finish all the Sundays, then I am putting this cool little marker in it for the month, telling me that that was the end of that month's square. And here I have the whole little bunches of these. And I found out about these through the Frivolous and Frugal podcast. And they're from Karen's Hobby Room, which is on Etsy. And so I have all the months there. And then each time I finish one, I will put one in there so I know what squares that I worked on during the month. Now, what I'm doing also for 2021 is, as you can see here, I am working widthwise. So what I'm doing is I'm working across the blanket, and I just keep adding here and here and here as I go on. Okay, so I'm going to go widthwise across. Okay, so it's building that direction. It's building that direction, okay? And then I think what I'll do is come back then, however wide it gets at the end of 2021, then for 2022, I think I will start building it the other way, lengthwise. So you can see it's a pretty substantial blanket so far. I just love it. Some of them are mine, and a lot of them are from friends. There are some sparkles in there as well, and some gifty yarns. Some from socks, some from some shawls. So I think that is super cool. So first and foremost, it goes into the memory square blanket. Now, then the leftovers go into a basket that I have downstairs. And this particular one is from a pattern from Attic 24. I have at least 300 stitches on mine. And after it goes into my mitered square, then I put at least a row into my crochet blanket. And you can tell it's over 300 stitches. It does not get the love that it should because it sits downstairs. And my thought was while I was waiting for the laundry to start or do that I would work on it, and I have not. So I need to maybe soon start doing maybe, I think Susan said something about doing a couple rows every Sunday on it as well. So maybe I should start that. But you can see that it is quite long. So secondary, the rest of it goes into the crochet blanket if it's not a huge Caribbean blue. And then on this particular one, I am using a size F crochet hook. I am not weaving in ends. I am actually doing the magic knot, and I'm just doing the magic knot. And I learned that from Paula at Knitting Pipeline some time ago. So this is the crochet version of it. And then if it is not a Caribbean blue color, then the leftovers are being put aside for other, for an Advent calendar that we're doing. I'm doing an Advent calendar with the group from Loopin' About on Ravelry, where we used to do Knitmas every year, but this year we're going to do Advent calendars for people, surprises. So if you're thinking about doing that, that's kind of sort of going to be a fun thing to do, to pass on to others. But whoever gets mine should love the blues. Let's just put it that way, the Caribbean blues. So anyway, they're going one of two different places. I'm setting them aside if they're a large amount for future blankets. And I have to back up too on my mitered square. I'm using that Weavin' Stephen West method for getting my ends in there, rather than going back and having to loop them all through, because it's going to be, for me, I'm confident that it's going to be okay. So that is what I've got going on that. Now, aside from everything else, if it is Caribbean blue and there's a huge skein of it, then it may make its way into the mitered square. If it's a smaller skein, then it is now making its way into a bag, a couple of bags, for the Habitation Throw by Helen Stewart. And this, again, is going to be for me. And it's a long-term project. It gets a little bit of work, a little bit of love. I am using a size 6 Likey needle on it. And this is all Caribbean blue colorways. That's what it's, or some facsimile of, let's put it that way. Light darks is what I'm using in this. And these are all fingering weights as well. So there's a bag full of those. Plus I have another bag of larger balls. These are the ones that are going to go into here right away. And this is in an Oh Wow Amsterdam bag. I love that way. I know exactly what's in my bag. So I think that was kind of cool. So that is the Habitation Throw. That one's going to be for me. And, you know, again, these are all long-term projects. And then finally on the whips of blankets, I got a wild hair, as it would be, recently when I saw this Jelly Roll blanket. This is by Kay Jones of the Bakery Bears podcast. And I decided at that time, that my next one, and this is in my Button Jar Studio bag, I thought I would take a collection of juicy colors, is what I'm calling them. I had a shawl that I started last year that was a knit along, and I decided I just didn't really want to continue it. So I ripped it back and I curated all of the juicy colors from it. So, or I could also call these tropical type colors. And again, I had a little bit longer size 3 needle for it. That I just barely cast on, but they're all going to be juicy colors, is my thought. Tropical colors aside from the ocean colors, but brights that you would see down in the tropics. And I keep looking out because I'm sitting next to the window and there's cars going by, and so I'm like, you know, birds and flowers and that. So anyway, this is going to be the Jelly Roll. And I'm not sure that one will stay in, but they're going to be brights. That's my whole intention of this, to have something bright in my bright bag to work on. I may convert it from this longer needle. I may buy another shorty from Signatures, because I really do like those 7-inch ones. She also suggests using a double point, but I really like these. And so I think I might get a new one. And just a shorter version, and then it'll just stay in this bag. So that's the juicy ones that I will be working on. So, and that's the Jelly Roll blanket. So, as you can see, there's several going on here as far as the Scrappy blankets are concerned. I wanted, excuse me, I wanted to just sit down and do a short podcast this week, all about Scrappy blankets, because I had been talking about those for some time. I wanted to share my Scrappy blankets with you. I found a new book via Hospice a few weeks back that Mary shared with us, and then when I looked at it, I thought, well, I have to have this. And this is called Geometric Knit Blankets by Margaret Holtzman. I got it off of Amazon. And this has potential for a future Scrappy type blanket. But the nice thing about this is the patterns in this are all worsted weight. And and there are some mitered ones. So I think this has potential. I have some simply worsted yarn upstairs that I want to do a blanket for my oldest grandson. And I thought this one had potential to work up for him to throw onto his bed. So you can see it's really just takeoffs from the mitered square blanket. And best of all, it is worsted weight, okay? There's just a lot of cool, and there's others in here that have potential. You have to see this one. So just some really cool blankets in this particular book, Geometric Knit Blankets by Margaret Holtzman. And thanks, Mary, for turning me on to it. They're all kind of like based on quilt patterns, of course. That's what that really reminds me of. And as a quilter of long ago and one that would like to get back into quilting, I just couldn't pass it up, and it has great potential for patterns. And again, for scraps of worsted blankets or of worsted sweaters that you've done or other knits. And we do a lot for hospice as well. So it has great potential for that as well. So I just thought that was a super cool book. I wanted to share that part with you. I've shared my books and bags today. I've shared my Scrappy blankets. And that's really what I wanted to talk to you about today. Thanks so much for tuning in. I appreciate those who show up each time and give me thumbs up and great feedback. Guys, it's wonderful. And even though we're a small little base here on PJ Knits, I'm thankful for what I get. And this really, if I think about it, it documents my knitting life and how easily it can go from one to the other, which is okay. Years ago, I was talking to our boss at work and didn't realize that she was a knitter. And we were talking about, she said, I do some things, a little bit more intricate things or patterning when I have something on my mind, because then it takes me away from that. And then she says there's other times when you just need a quick project so you can just, watch TV or whatever. And that surprised me about her at the time when I heard that. But that's very, very true. For me recently, just things in general. If I have a little complicated something, or I have to figure out colors, what's going next, something to take your mind away from that, that's fun as well. But sometimes you just need something that you just grab a skein of yarn out of your scrap pile and just cast on and crochet or knit and not worry about things and just zone out, especially around here. It's kind of nice. We're having a warm spell again here in central Illinois, and the air is back on. But the kids went back to school yesterday and today locally, so it's a sign of fall coming, and good time to be working on Scrappy blankets. That's what I figure as well. So anyway, thanks so much. We'll talk to you the next time. A couple of weeks down the road, we'll talk hopefully summer of shawls, and I'll have some shawls to show you as well. Things from my closet, things that I'm thinking about doing, all kinds of other stuff. So until next time, knit on with confidence and hope through all crisis. Hey, write your own story, people. Do your own thing. Thanks for stopping by. Bye.